Did you know Vietnam was not as big as it is today? Over the course of Vietnam's long history, it has been ruled by many different powers. The Vietnamese people trace their roots back to the earliest inhabitants of the region as the An Nam. The An Nam were a collection of local chieftains who lived in what is today central Vietnam. The An Nam were never unified, but they did share a common culture and language. They lived in small villages and farmed the land. They also had a strong tradition of ancestor worship. The An Nam were eventually conquered by the Chinese and became known as the Yue people. They ruled over them for almost 1,000 years. The Chinese brought with them their own language and customs, which they imposed on the An Nam. Despite this, the An Nam were able to preserve much of their culture, including their religion and their art. In the 15th century, Vietnam was once again a Chinese tributary state, but this time it was ruled by the Ming dynasty. The Ming were more tolerant of local customs than previous Chinese rulers, and they allowed the Vietnamese to keep their own language and religion. Following the fall of the Khmer Empire, several small kingdoms and chiefdoms arose in the region. One of these was the Kingdom of G Viet, which would eventually become known as the Mac dynasty. The Mac ruled over much of northern Vietnam and were the first to use the name Vietnam instead of An Nam. They were eventually overthrown by the Chinese Ming dynasty. However, the Ming were only able to conquer northern Vietnam. Much of the south stayed independent and was called Kampuchea Krom by the Khmer people. Then, in 1887, French colonization occurred, marking the start of French Indochina. The Khmer Krom were a Khmer people who lived in the southern part of Vietnam. They were the last remnants of the once mighty Khmer Empire, and they lived in a small region in the Mekong Delta. The Khmer Krom were farmers and fishermen, and they lived in small villages. They had a strong tradition of Buddhism, and they were ruled over by a king. Through French occupation, the Vietnamese gradually conquered the Khmer Krom over the course of several centuries. Kampuchea Krom refers to the Mekong Delta region in southern Vietnam, which was previously part of Cambodia. Specifically, it encompasses areas like So Trang, Tra Vinh, Dong Thap, Bac Lieu, and Ca Mau. By the 17th century, the entire region was under Vietnamese control, and the Khmer Krom were incorporated into Vietnamese society. Despite being incorporated, the Khmer Krom still held on to their Khmer cultural heritage till this day. They practice their religion and speak both Khmer and Vietnamese. In the 17th century, however, the Ming dynasty collapsed and Vietnam became an independent country once again. It was during this time period that the Vietnamese began to expand their territory southwards into the Khmer Krom areas. Today, Vietnam is a socialist republic. Its history has been shaped by centuries of foreign rule, but the Vietnamese people have always managed to maintain their cultural identity. From the ancient An Nam to the modern day, the Vietnamese have shown an amazing ability to adapt and survive. So that's a brief look at the history of Vietnam. If you want to know more about Asia and its 50 countries and regions, please subscribe. And remember, to know history is to know self.